The big man is back.
In a world full of podcasts, he's the undisputed heavyweight champion of hot takes, an Auburn sports homer, master of the book, and message board legend. Get your buttons buttoned and your hats flattened because the Top Button Podcast is about to kick off. And you don't want to miss your courtside seat. Now, here's your host, Charlie Five.
What's up, everybody? We're back. It's episode 34 of the Top Button Podcast. What a day. What a day to celebrate our big man, Janai Broom, coming back for his final season, make another title run. Could not be more excited. There's so much to talk about. Talk about his return, expectations now for 2024, 2025, and then there's some huge football portal visitors coming in this weekend. So we're going to talk about that. But before we do, we got to give a shout out to our boy Ford Stokes with Active Wealth Management. Don't forget, he's got a television show launching. If you're in the Huntsville area, you can catch it out. You can catch it on 10:30 on Sundays. If you live in Columbus, Georgia, you can catch it WXTX, the Fox affiliate, 8:30 a.m. on Sundays, right before Fox News Sunday. Ford is a member of the Forbes Finance Council, and Forbes, publishes an article monthly too, so you can catch a lot of his notes there as well. So big time things happening for Active Wealth Management, different ways that you can catch content from him. So be sure to check him out, Active Wealth Management, or at annuity360.net. So love Ford Stokes. Tell him War Eagle. Tell him I sent you. All right, guys, the news came out yesterday. We were kind of waiting on pins and needles, waiting for this announcement to come. But Janai Broom announces yesterday, somewhere around like 5 p.m. Central Time, that he's going to run it back. He's going to come back for his final season. And he said he's got unfinished business. They did the whole I love the social media content that the basketball team does. They kind of copy the old ESPN office commercials, where you have different situations in the ESPN. We love those commercials. You know what I'm talking about. They were great. So we're kind of copying that. And you had him bringing in a SEC championship trophy, and then you look and Aubie's got all his trophies, and he's like, man, I got to catch up. And then, says, I'm coming back type thing. And then all the different run it back social media posts, Twitter, Instagram, everybody goes berserk as soon as it hits. I mean, you're talking about a all-American type player, all SEC type player that announced his return. It sent kind of shockwaves through the media. You see all the different beat sites start retweeting it. A lot of different basketball analysts and things like that. John Rothstein, who loves Auburn, he's the one that's always puts out "Welcome to the Jungle." Auburn basketball, welcome to the jungle. He's tweeting it out. Tons of eyes on it, and it's just it's huge. It's huge for Auburn, and I know that's an easy thing to say, but like if you just really think about it, in the era of the portal, this no different than going and signing the best player in the portal. You just signed the best possible player at that position that you could get in the portal. You just added him back to the roster. And I know that's weird to say because he was already on the roster, but if you really think about it, that's what you have to do now. That's what you have to do now. That's how you manage your rosters. So if you don't get Broom, you got to go get the best available center that's out there. Who is that? It could be, anybody, and it's unproven at that time. So why not just go and do what you have to do, put together an NIL package, put together some sponsorship packages, things like that to help him, make it worth his while to come back. I mean, that's the game now. It's the game now. It's not only going and adding players from outside, but it's figuring out ways to keep your roster intact. And Bruce, I know they feel like they left a ton of meat on the bone last season with the loss to Yale in the first round, but overall, you love that roster. You love that roster. You got other than clearly you feel like you upgraded at point guard, but you love that roster. You love what you have in Denver. You love what you have in Chad. You love the way Chaney developed. Why not just do what you have to do to bring Janai back? And then essentially you got your whole roster back that won the SEC tournament that, a lot of people thought was going to make a deep run, a really good tournament team. And you just kind of have a goofy thing happen in your first round. So and you get knocked out, but you bring that essentially that whole roster back. It's big. It's big to bring in. It's just the way that basketball is today, the way that really college sports are today, being able to take the resources that you have and help get kids to come back versus 3 or 4 years ago, he's probably gone. 3 or 4 years ago, he's probably gone. I'm just going to go make my way through the G League, do whatever I got to do because there's really no incentive to come back. But now you can kind of put together, a package and whatnot to help, keep those guys another year longer that may, want to jump early. And look, Janai did not have the luxury anymore of going through the draft process. He's already done that twice. I think he did it at Morehead State. He did it last year at Auburn. You only get 2 times that you can do that. And then the next time you just have to declare or you say you come back. And if you declare, you're done. So I think he did his due diligence. And let's just be honest. I think he understands. He understands that in the NBA, he's a little bit undersized to be a true big man, as far as like a feature big man. And then he's probably a little bit not quite as athletic to be a true power forward in the NBA and be able to run and guard and spread out, past just being up under the basket. So he's still got a lot left to prove as far as developing his game. And I think you're probably going to see a bit of that, him playing a little bit more being a little bit away from the basket more. Probably not a ton, but I think you will see a lot of looks at him and Dylan on the court at the same time. Hopefully give him some more shots from 3. His shot just keeps getting better. Stuff like that that can help him really improve his game. If you're going to be 6'11", 6'10", in the NBA, you need to be a dead-eye shooter, especially if you're a big man. And I think he's got the opportunity. I think he's got an opportunity to come back and develop those skills one more year. And then the biggest thing though is he's one of the more recognizable faces in college basketball. You kind of saw it with Caitlin Clark last year. She, in the WNBA, she was the most, obviously he's not going to be on that level, but the more recognizable players in college basketball, you have opportunities for massive endorsement deals. So bringing back an all SEC player, bringing back, I think a 3rd team All-American, bringing back one of those players and the eyeballs that want to be on him, he's got an opportunity this year to honestly, just quite frankly, make a ton of money from endorsements and things like that. And also if he works on the things that I guess he sort of lacks in and develops those, he's got an opportunity to make a ton of future money in the NBA. So, and helping his draft stock. So Janai coming back is massive. Your roster is pretty much from your starting 5 and maybe some like immediate rotational pieces, I think is pretty much set. You still got to go let me backtrack. We already talked about JP Pegee. So you got your starting point guard. You got Denver Jones. It's going to be your starting 2 guard. You got Chad Baker-Mazara, who's, he's going to be coming back ready to go crazy. Then you got Chaney again, who got better and better. And then you got your big man, Janai. And then there's obviously some rotational pieces that come in. So really the only thing you have left, you really have to get a backup point guard. You can platoon it a little bit. You could, if you really gotten a tight, you could slide Denver over to play a little bit of point guard at times to give JP a breather or whatnot, because you got Tahad Pettiford, the all-star freshman coming in that's going to try to play a little bit of 2 guard as well. But I think you're probably going to want to go get a backup guy that's, you're not going to, I'm thinking, honestly, you're going to try to have a great eval level like you did with like a Chad Baker-Mazara from a JUCO, or a Chaney Johnson from maybe, a D2 school, something like that. Somebody that's, that you really, really dig into the film on and figure out that it's somebody that we can go get that's, I guess, got a chip on their shoulder, looking to level up their game and is okay with playing limited minutes on a Division I roster, or somebody that, like Chad, is kind of working their way back to getting onto a D1 roster. So I think that's probably the route you're going to go at point guard, and possibly the route you go at power forward. I don't think you have to go try to get a blockbuster power forward. I don't know that you could get one anyway. We already talked about how Janai is going to probably play a little bit of four. I don't see it playing 25 minutes at the four, but, maybe 10, 12 minutes at the four, and then another 20 minutes or so at the five. So I don't think it's super necessary to have to go find a all-star guy, but if you could go find you another Chaney Johnson, somebody that's super athletic, that has the opportunity to come in and develop and get better. How crucial was Chaney that the back half of that season when Jalen got hurt, that couple of game stretch, his game developed. He hit some big threes in some big games. And then obviously he plays great defense, gets rebounds. He struggled in the NCAA tournament game, but again, that was an anomaly. I'm just going to say that whole game was an anomaly. But if you can find another player like that, I think that's kind of the route you're going to see Bruce go. Is let's go find us two guys that are developmental type, not super highly recruited, but really lock in and eval those guys. They nailed it, in my opinion, with Chad Baker-Mazara. They nailed it with Chaney Johnson as far as who you could get at that point in time and the need at that point in time. And then now he's possibly got the opportunity to be, a superstar. How can you at this point in time, how can you doubt Bruce? How can you doubt their ability to be able to go find a diamond in the rough and it not just be a throwing something out there and see if it sticks? Like, they're going to find a true player, and I have all the faith in the world that they can go find the perfect guys. But again, the roster is pretty much set. You're going to go look at adding a, possibly a JUCO D2-ish type point guard, and then probably the same type of player at a power forward, maybe somebody that can play a little bit of three, a little bit of four, but probably mostly that power forward, that Jalen Williams, Chaney Johnson type role. So could not be more excited. What a great way to sort of kick off, or I guess put a bow on basketball season. You got your roster pretty much set. Now you just got to go finish it off. And you don't necessarily have to go overboard on trying to add firepower, because you went and got the top point guard you wanted, and you got your top big man that you had to have back. And then let's not forget Dylan Cardwell. You got Dylan Cardwell to come back. So you got the best 1-2 punch returning again at the big man position. The front court's going to be pretty dang solid. So let's talk now that the roster's set. Let's really talk expectations. What are fair expectations for this team? I think if you ask Bruce, he would say, this is a team that I'm putting together to go on a title run, go back, compete for the SEC championship again, compete for, I think a lot of the preseason rankings, you have Auburn inside the top 15. I've seen some that even inside the top 10. So what are fair expectations? I think at Auburn right now with this team, as good as they played, I think you got to be sort of eyeing Sweet 16 or bust type. This is at that level of a team. I think you're going to, again, challenge for the regular season title, definitely challenge for the tournament. And the fun thing is, if you remember, this is the Maui Invitational year. We'll go play them out in the field for the Maui Invitation is absolutely incredible. Listen to some of these teams that'll be listen to some of these rankings, these teams that are going to be in the Maui Invitational. So you're going to have UNC currently preseason number 2, Iowa State number 3, UConn number 4, Auburn number 8, and Michigan State, number 25. So that's the Maui Invitational this year, which, holy cow, you have a chance to go ahead and put yourself on the map early against some big time competition. And I could not be more excited for that, especially now that you got your big man back. Here's another thing. You can kind of go ahead and start off the year hot. It may take a little bit of time to get JP Pegues to get sort of acclimated. Hopefully not very long. I don't think it'll take very long. He's played a ton of basketball, and he's played a ton of high level basketball. But man, you could go ahead and start the season hot and just get better and better and better. I love the idea of this team, putting this team together to really get back at that taste, that bad taste you left in that was left in your mouth over the ending of last season. You bring essentially everybody back. You feel like you maybe got a little bit better at point guard, or at least a little bit more experienced, big game experience at point guard, and you can go ahead and make a run. Last year we all got mad about it, but the analysts and things like that's what they said is, this, if you could point to one thing, and this is not a knock or anything on Trey or Aiden, because I think they could have eventually, they would have gotten better. I don't know that they were ever going to be just, elite, but that was one thing they said. They said, if there's one knock on Auburn, it's the guards, the point guards. They're just not elite that you would see to take you deep in a tournament. Now, we did get through the SEC tournament. We did win that with some great play from the guards that didn't turn the ball over, facilitated really well. But you get in the tournament and you have the freakish thing with Chad go down. You just didn't have the point guard play to be able to carry you through that game. You really had to have Chad to make that happen. So you feel like you get a little bit better at point guard. Again, I think a realistic expectation for this roster, and I think if you ask Bruce, he would say the same thing, is Sweet 16 or bust. Sweet 16 or bust. And obviously competing or possibly winning one or both of the regular season title and the tournament title. I mean, if you look around in the SEC too, like you got to feel like Auburn's going to be the favorite. You got Arkansas, who obviously has Calipari now, who's going to be reloading a completely new roster. You have Kentucky, who's got a new coach, who's going to be completely reloading a new roster. You got Tennessee, who loses the dude that scores 50 points a game, that's going to have to go replace that offense. Those are some big typical challengers. Alabama, who was one of the top teams last year, they lose essentially their whole team. And Mark Sears has declared for the draft. He did not sign with the agent, so I guess in theory he could come back. But you almost have to replace that entire roster. So you got a lot of teams who are having to replace a lot of stuff, and Auburn is just sitting pretty. Auburn's just sitting pretty, ready to go. I'm 1,000% sure what Florida has. I feel like they had a lot of one and done guys too, so they're going to have to replace some guys. But as far as Auburn, you essentially bring back the whole team that won the SEC tournament last year and came in one game out of second place for the regular season title. So you gotta love where you sit in the league. I mean, so fair expectations for the league, I would say if you're any further than tied for second in the regular season, I feel like you're going to be a little bit disappointed. Anything lower than a 1 seed in the SEC tournament is, I would say, you're probably not very happy with how the season played out. Regardless of what happened, if there's injuries or whatever, I think those are fair expectations. And that's what we should come to expect at Auburn. And there was a lot of teams. Auburn was that roster last year was the 6th best betting odds to win the NCAA tournament. So, is this roster the same or better next year? Could you possibly make a title run? We'll just have to see. Hopefully the shooting continues to get better. We shot incredible from 3 last year. And that's something that's so key, is being able to hit shots. So, does Chaney continue to step forward? I think that would be to develop. I think that would be that'll be a pretty key thing to watch on next year's team. So expectations, I'm saying Sweet 16 or bust. I think that's fair. If you come in the season, if you're coming into basketball saying it's national championship or bust, you're just not a basketball person. If I'm just being honest, yeah, I want to win the national championship, and I would love to, and I think that's probably that's got to be the ultimate goal. But you got to understand that just crap happens in that SEC tournament. So get Sweet 16 or bust, and hopefully we get a good draw, and we don't have to travel across the world for the first couple of rounds. So anyway, get excited. Broom's back. Boog it out all like up until basketball season. There's really no reason not to. I mean, he is going to be he's going to be fired up. He's got a lot he feels like he has to prove, and we're going to get after it. We're going to get after this team's going to get after it. They're going to work hard in the summer and then get after it in the fall as well. So cannot be more excited about basketball. You got to feel good going into the next season. Let's talk about portal. But before we do, we got to give a shout out to Plains Coffee. Use coupon code BUTTON, promo code BUTTON for 10% off literally every single order. Save your gas, save your time, go online, check this place out, get you any blend, roast of coffee that you can possibly desire. They got it all. And then if you don't like coffee, they got tea too. I'm not a hot tea guy, but it's allergy season. People are getting, if you get taken down with some allergies, and sometimes hot tea makes you feel better. If you don't like coffee, they got the teas too. So use coupon code BUTTON, take 10% off. Show them some love. Plainscoffee.com. 2 massive portal visitors at positions of need are on the docket to visit this weekend, and we're going to talk about it. So wide receiver, you want to look to bring in at least one big outside wide receiver, and then pass rusher is another position that you're looking to bring in and help back up Jalen McLeod, because behind Jalen, you just had your boy Brenton Williams from Opelika going to the portal. So really, you got Jalen, and then you got freshmen. You got Jalen McLeod, and then you got freshmen at pass rusher. So you needed to look at some pass rushers, and so you got a wide receiver and a pass rusher coming in. And honestly, the wide receiver for sure is the top wide receiver in the portal right now, and then the edge is one of the top guys as well. So wide receiver, Penn State wide receiver, former wide receiver Keandre Lambert Smith. Okay, Keandre Lambert Smith had somewhere around 600 yards receiving last year. Very consistent guy, lot of speed, but you're talking about a guy who's constant. Last year almost averaged 4 or 5 catches a game last year, 4 touchdowns in an offense that I don't think was incredibly explosive in general. So had a big game against Ohio State. You got to love that. Against Ohio State, he had 6 catches. Against Maryland, he had 8 catches. That may have been more catches versus Maryland than our entire team had last year from the bowl game. So he's coming to visit this weekend. He is the top player top wide receiver in the portal as of now. So you can expect that he is going to probably demand a very he's not going to be cheap. Let's just say that. But the idea of getting him in first is huge, because you kind of you get to evaluate him first, and then a lot of times you can end it right there with the portal. You saw it last year. It's the complete inverse of high school, where you want the last visit before they make the decision. In the portal, you want to get them in first, so you can go ahead and say, okay, look, we really need you. We're going to do XYZ to get you, and we want you to commit right now. And typically that's how a lot of these recruitments play out. If the meeting goes well, if you feel like it's a good fit and you can go ahead and lock it in, you got them first. A lot of times that's how recruitment's end. You saw it happen to Auburn last year. We tried to get a lot of the last visits, and these guys were committing on their first visit. So to see that little bit of an inverse shows that, hey, we learned a little bit from the December portal, and we're ready to go, and we're ready to go get guys. So you bring in your top wide receiver that could possibly play alongside opposite Cam Coleman. If you got Cam, could be a really, really good duo, really good 1-2 punch. So let's see how that recruitment plays out. Another big visitor that you got coming in, I believe his name's Keon Crawford. Keyron Crawford, okay, or Keyron. Not 100% sure. I'm sure I'll be corrected on that, but edge. Uh, Love this guy's size. Okay, he's somewhere around like 6'4" ish, 245, 250. Had 5.5 sacks last year. I think that's pretty much what his role was. Is he is a third down type specialist type player, and it's great to be able to possibly add somebody like that into the mix to be able to back up Jalen McLeod. Another thing, really quick about Keon Lambert-Smith. He's a junior. I think he's pretty much only got one season left. Let's see. He's only got. Yeah, this would be it for him. He's used his COVID year. This would probably be it from him. But Kieran Lambert is a sophomore, so this guy possibly has multiple years that he could be a factor. In his sophomore year of college, he had 5.5 sacks. He has a great tackle to assisted tackle ratio. The made up ratio that I have that I think is that I've made into an important stat to track, which means I like solo tackles. Okay, I want to see high number of solo tackles. So if I look at your total tackles and more of them are assisted tackles than not, you could just be a pile jumper. You could just be a guy that just jumps on a pile and they give you an assisted tackle. This guy's got a perfect 1-to-1 solo tackle to assisted tackle ratio, and then you add 5.5 sacks. I think somewhere around 10 tackles for loss, 2 or 3 forced fumbles. Just a very active player. A lot of good explosion. He's going to be here this weekend. Somebody that you get the first crack at again. Keandre Lambert-Smith scheduled to go to Texas A&M right after us, so that what's behind you. You know where he's going right after. So if you want him, you better. If you want him and you think he's a good fit, you got the really good opportunity to go ahead and lock it down, because if he leaves, who knows what could happen at Texas A&M. I'm not sure if Kayron Crawford has another visit scheduled already, but hopefully this is a guy that if you like, you can go ahead and lock in. I think they both may get here today. Some of them I think was like a Thursday through Saturday type visit, and then they will go Lambert-Smith's going elsewhere afterwards. So the strategy flip is important to me because, again, regardless of what anybody says, I think they would tell you, the staff would tell you, Hugh would tell you, the December portal didn't work out like we thought it would for whatever reason, whether it was just strategy, the GM, player personnel, whatever staff that you have, regardless, whatever happened in December, I think they would tell you didn't work. So it's been retooled, and you're seeing early that Philip Bleedy, you got Lambert-Smith, you got Crawford, all coming in on some of their first visits. I think that's big, just from a philosophy standpoint, to see, hey, we made mistakes, we corrected it, and we're moving forward, and we're going to go try to make this team better. So let's watch those visits this weekend. Let's see what happens. Could you go ahead and lock them down? If they're worth it, if you feel like it's a fit, why not? Go ahead and lock it down now. Don't play the waiting game, because you never know what could happen on their next visit. And you never know how desperate the next team they go visit is for that particular position. So big time visitors, I don't think this is it. I think there's some more coming. We're keeping a lot of names. It seems like they're keeping a lot of names quiet until like the very last minute. Like I think these guys are coming in today. So could there be some other positions coming in this weekend? Wouldn't shock me. I would imagine some more names to pop up, if not today, tomorrow for sure, if they're going to be here this weekend. So portal season is popping. It's going. Hopefully it's going to be going the positive way, but we have lost a few guys. Again, I mentioned Brenton Williams. I had high hopes for him. He looked really good. He looked like he's really transformed his body. But again, you don't know the situation. He could have gotten a better, been tampered with, got a better offer elsewhere. So good kid, good family. Wish him a ton of luck. But it just didn't work out for whatever reason. JD Rim, another guy, seems like there was some sort of, I don't want to say it's disciplinary, because it just seemed like there was some issues there between him and Hugh that they couldn't get remedied. A holdover from the Brian Harsin classes. Good player, thought he had a lot of promise. Hopefully that he finds a spot where he can sort of recharge, restart. But you lose him. But honestly, I'm kind of shocked at how quiet it's been from the Auburn leaving standpoint. I kind of expected a little bit more there. I expected a little bit more attrition, and it's not like they have a month to make a decision. It's pretty much you got 12 days. The clock is ticking. So maybe it's not going to be this whole lose 8, add 8 type situation. Maybe it's only going to be 3 or 4. And if that's the case, you know, that shows you how good you feel about your roster. And I think it speaks a lot to how well you can manage your roster to keep it from having just massive attrition. Even if the attrition would have only been backups, you got to have backups. You got to have a depth chart. You got to have dudes you can go to if there's injuries. So if you're able to keep guys that know they're not going to necessarily get a ton of snaps, I say you're doing a pretty good job managing your roster. You've created a good environment. You've created a good atmosphere, chemistry among the team. They want to be a part of it. Again, who knows? Tomorrow, 10 dudes could go in the portal. But if they go in the portal tomorrow, 10 guys going to the portal tomorrow, I feel like they've miscalculated, because they probably already should have been in the portal to give themselves more time to find the school, talk to the school that they want to go transfer for and find the right spot. So I'm a little bit shocked at in a good way. I'm a little bit shocked in a good way at how quiet it's been on the Auburn losing guys front. And hopefully we don't. Hopefully we don't lose very many. I think we were short that 85 number of scholarships. So you're going to look to add whatever that difference was in the portal, and then obviously replace whatever you lose. But as of right now, it looks like you may not have to add, but maybe at least 3 or 4, 5-ish right at this point in time. That may be it. That you have to add until you start seeing dudes go in the portal. But anyway, ton of action. Be excited. How can you not be happy that Janai is back? The starting 5 is locked in, intact, ready to go, and it's going to be a hopefully another conference title run, and maybe kind of correct some of the things that held you back at times, and just get better. And you can do it with the same guys. That's so exciting. That's so exciting that you get to take the same dudes that just won the SEC tournament and had so much promise in the NCAA tournament, and you get to bring them back and just get better. I cannot wait for basketball season. I'm so excited. And then you got the portal. You got your seat of the strategy flipped. You're bringing in the highly rated guys in first. You're getting the first crack at them. Let's see if we go ahead and get a couple or pull the trigger this weekend. And let's be on the lookout for some more big names. So, guys, I really appreciate it. Like and subscribe this video. Leave me a comment if you think I'm crazy about basketball expectations, if it's too low, too high, whatever. And then let me know what you think about the portal visits. What about the strategy? Do you feel more excited about the prospects when you look at the Will Redmond GM position and his staff versus the way it was in December? Let me know what you think about all those things as well. I comment back. I try to reply to every single one. So I really appreciate it. Follow me on Twitter at @the_Charlie_5. And I will try to be back on, I'll be back on Tuesday. And if something big happens, if we land one of these guys over the weekend, I may do, I guess like a impromptu quick pod over that. So let's have some fun this weekend. Weather should be beautiful almost wherever you are. So really appreciate it, guys. Thanks for listening. This is episode 34 of the Top Button Podcast. Stay buttoned. and I totally messed up the exit. But here we go. Stay buttoned.
Thanks for listening, and drive home safely.